Are you crazy? Or are you just mad?
Hello. Welcome to the Mad Musicians Against Depression podcast, where we discuss the latest news, research and hot topics surrounding mental health. I'm Thomas Maher, and I'm joined in studio by my beautiful co-host, award-winning singer, songwriter and presenter, Indiraa.
My God, Indiraa. Jesus, Indiraa. My God almighty, I was going to my usual roaring intro, but I've got this poxy lurgy that you've given to me because we weren't here last week. Oh, because
Sharing
you were ill.
is caring.
You were ill last week, so we didn't do the podcast. You were too ill to do it. Now you've given me this poxy lurgy. Anyway, welcome to the Mad Podcast, episode number 37. Season 2. Yeah? Will you stop looking at your phone?
I'm trying to find my
concentrate
reading.
Speaking into the microphone.
Oi, I'm trying to find the reading for today tonight's
I
reading.
did ask you before we started the show.
Okay, and today's reading
There's no today's reading. Let's talk for it. Is there a rush?
Okay. No.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So how's things been?
Things are good. Well, everything, there's a yin to a yang. So, yeah, certain things are going good. I'm having a few problems in terms of my... I spoke to my psychiatrist yesterday, and that was great. He's really very happy with me. I'm happy with him. Mm-hmm. But then, after coming out of rehab, I've been going, lately, and you've encouraged me to go back to my roots, and Buddhism has become a part of my life as part of Hinduism. And I realized that 33 years of living away from India, I'd lost the spiritual side of me.
Yeah. And
I felt the loss badly because it changed me as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And, 33 years is half my life exactly. So that's kind of sad to lose such an important part of you. So I was torn between this whole thing of spirituality and this whole thing of going to AA meetings and doing what I had to do, which I realized I was getting slightly more aggressive at the meetings.
Okay.
And my language had become pretty devoid of any respect. I was using a lot of bad language, and I'm not saying no one should use bad language, but I've never been one to use it, and it became just every second word was punctuated with things, and I was not happy with who I was becoming.
Yeah.
And I couldn't settle with a therapist that was you have to take, it's like anything, and when you find a therapist, either you need one or you don't, or if you overdo the connection with a therapist, it can be really hard. And so you need to know how many days you want to work with them, and how you resonate with certain things with them. And rather than start relying on a therapist, you have to use them as someone who can help you, rather than someone who's going to pick you up and walk with you under their arm and tell you what to do. And there's a point where you have to learn to make your own decisions, and I'd lost that for years. I was not very decisive, and it was becoming worse when I'm falling back on other people, and especially like my therapists, and it's not healthy. I mean, I'd go to a restaurant with my husband, and he'd say, "What do you want to eat?" And I'd say, "Oh, whatever you choose." Or, are you going to have a dessert? Oh, okay, if you're having one, I'll take a bite or something. It's, I'm booking a restaurant for the kids. What day do you want to do that? Or whatever works for you, whatever works for them. And I realized I'm making myself a persona non grata, and that's not healthy. And trying to, I'd made a list on my phone of all the things I have to do. conquer the physical, to be in touch with your mental and all the rest of it. And then you came along with this thing to read out, and it was almost like you went into my brain and you kind of knew what battle I was having. And so it was on my mind. I mean, it's been on my mind this morning. It's been a lot on my mind all of yesterday. It was very difficult after my therapy, online Zoom therapy was difficult for me.
Mm-hmm.
And, I realize I'm always eating humble pie, saying sorry to everyone. When you start apologizing to everybody around you, you obviously are not in a good place.
Mm-hmm.
So, little changes I make in my life one day at a time.
Yeah.
And I realized I was also always answerable to everyone. My husband, when we got married, my mother-in-law would say, oh, we live together. So it was like, where are you going? And I'd say, oh, Mom, we're going out to this and this place. And right down to what I was going to order. And why don't you come with us? And if she came into the room and said, so where are you going? And my husband was there, he'd say, out. Oh, really? What for? So he said, to eat. Where? Not decided. Oh, what time will you be back? I don't know. What time are you leaving? Well, as soon as we're ready. And there was never, it was like, don't try and make us answer to you. It's not going to happen. But she was a really nice lady, make no mistake. I really loved her. But I realized then that she started going through my cupboards, reading my letters, everything, because I allowed it. And one day she said, this friend of yours, Paul, how come you keep his letters lying around? Aren't you worried people will read it? I said, he's a dentist. Only the chemist can read his writing. I don't read them. I said, you've got to be kidding if you think I read his letters.
Yeah.
So on that note.
Sounds like you've been through a little bit of introspection.
Yeah, well, along with all this stuff comes introspection, and it can be quite raw.
Yeah,
times.
I can tell you, it's very liberating when you learn to say no or say yes, depending at the right times. You need to know what the right response is. A lot of times the answer is going to be no, but sometimes it's often yes. So knowing the difference between that and being strong enough to express yourself and being having the assertiveness to do it, I think it's a very, very key thing for mental health. Because like I say, otherwise you become subservient, and with subservience becomes diffidence, lack of confidence, lack of self-respect.
That's exactly it.
Even self-loading. So I always find...
Oops, that was a gulp.
There's a gulp. She's gulping coffee down, in case you're wondering.
Sorry about the cough,
and
guys.
And she's still got the lurgy, so I'll have to disinfect this room when we're done.
I didn't give it to him, okay?
No, she did.
It was... No.
Like just on that note, I just think regards to mental health, anyone who suffers from the same kind of psychological symptoms as what you're talking about, it's absolutely vitally important that you take back control of your life. Learn to say no, learn to say yes when it's appropriate, and get your self-respect back and stop the self-loading, because that will only just push you down deeper into the hole you're already in. So I'm glad you've thought of that, because you can address these things. And the thing with a therapist, whether it's any therapy, no therapist nowhere in the world is perfect. Don't forget, a lot of these therapists themselves have got a lot of mental health issues going on themselves, and a lot of time that's why they become therapists, because they set out on a journey of self-repatriation, self-healing, and that's why good therapists become good therapists, because like I always say, nothing gives you more education than experience itself. So anyone who's been through the mill not only has the know-how or just not just the academic approach to it, but have the experience, the emotions that go along with that, the insight that goes along with that. So, so if you've got a therapist, make sure, I think it's very important that you resonate with that therapist, you connect with that therapist. Therapist is there for you, you're not there for them. Yeah, so at all times it should just be that the relationship should be like that. It should never be where you feel an anxiety because you have to talk to your therapist, or your therapist makes you feel inadequate, if that's happening in a therapist-client relationship, then obviously it's broken and you need to fix that. But sometimes the best way to do that is just to move on. So, okay. So, on that note, we have 2 articles from our mental health research this week. Sorry again, we weren't here last week. Indira's fault. See,
I did that
she's just validating why she wasn't here last week.
Yeah, I'm just validating, yeah.
So, Indira, what one have you got? What's the headline of your one?
The Mind and Body Revolution.
That's your headline, yes. And
how the division between mental and physical illness fails us all.
Okay, interesting. And my
really
one is
good.
Scientists discover way to predict who is most at risk of depression. It's an interesting article. Obviously, again, summarised. And we have a UFO as usual.
You know what? It's getting so amazing on TV now, isn't it?
It's all over TV. It's all over TV. And when CNN are doing something every day on it, on disclosure,
you know something's going on, right?
Conspiracies, you know, they're trying to break it. They're trying to break it. Everybody wants to be the first to break this big disclosure that's going to be happening soon. And I've said it last year, I'm saying it again. Something is coming. Something is on the way.
Some people who are listening to this podcast say, you know, I really love your podcast. I'm not sure about your alien thing. I said, well, it's alien to most people.
Yeah, exactly,
so,
yeah.
You know, but I said, look, everything in life is alien to someone in the beginning. And then you've got Newton who said, why did the apple fall? You know, to other people, what difference does it make? If it fell, let's just eat it, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So there are people out there who want to know. And when something 1 + 1 doesn't make 2, you have to wonder, right?
Well, I think when something very, very extraordinary happens in the very near future, people will want to know exactly more, and they will be reminiscent about what we were talking about on these shows, past shows, because we were from the very beginning highlighting the past events, current events, and what we think future events are going to be. It's very, very exciting because it'll change the whole landscape of mankind, politically, geographically, religiously. In every way, it's going to shape us in a completely different way going forward. I
think one of the things you sent me, which was interesting, and one of the guys said on it, the tragedy of turning our backs on knowledge we have of other civilizations outside of ours. The tragedy of that is we could have learned so much more from them if they were advanced, and they obviously were.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of resonated with me because honestly, if you think you're the best and you're the only one, even in everyday life, to turn your back on the fact that there is someone better, someone better, something you can learn from, there's an issue with you. If you are not able to accept there's someone out there you can learn from. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a combination of things, isn't it? It's not wanting to believe. It's that stubbornness and not wanting to believe. There's also an ignorance to it and a naivety to think that we're only civilized. It's hard to
it's arrogance,
say,
I think.
Yeah, we're not. You know, to say we're an intelligent race. Yeah, we are compared to nobody. Compared to ants, compared to monkeys, monkeys in their own right.
They didn't really study my brain, did they? Now,
huh?
They didn't study my brain.
My brain. We don't know
my brain.
But you didn't have one. When they done the scans, they couldn't find one. So how would they study something?
But they were looking for grey cells, and mine are purple.
Purple. There you go. You see, purple on scans.
Purple brain. That was so clever.
There you go. You see, yeah. They wanted to.
God, I am so clever.
They wanted to assess you, but they couldn't find a chair big enough to strap you into. Your head, that was. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit more aliens later on. So, which my article is, scientists discover the strongest evidence yet for aliens. So there we go. And Indiraa, do you want to take us away with your hot topic?
Of course. Now the article, The Mind-Body Revolution, How the Division Between Mental and Physical Illness Fails Us All, discusses the limitations of separating mental and physical health. This argues that this division can hinder effective treatments. Oh, I can see that. Effective treatments and understanding of illnesses, as many conditions involve both mental and physical components. Peace advocates for a more integrated approach to healthcare that acknowledges the interconnectedness of mind and body, aiming to improve patient outcomes by addressing the whole person rather than compartmentalizing health issues. So I think what it kind of says is it goes hand in glove, that mind and body. And if you can't treat one without treating the other, and you need to
Absolutely.
one glove is not going to fit all. So you have to address both together and then work on, I'm on antidepressants, and speaking as someone who suffers from depression acutely, I know that treating the mental side and not really looking at the body is a problem, because I've had to battle with that on my own. Fortunately, I've always been able to put exercise very high up in my
order of
priorities, and it seems to have pulled me through. And I think without that, I would have been in a huge problem, because I was producing serotonin and giving myself a little happiness that way. But I need to learn to broaden my mind now to more things.
Well, you are doing. I think the Buddhism is a fantastic direction you've recently taken in your life, because I personally think that faith, whatever that faith comes from, you can take it from any religion you like, because I always say faith, not religion, is the most important thing. Some people get their faith from religion, but it is faith that is the most important thing, and Buddhism is a fantastic form of that. I don't often like to call it religion, because for me it's just
the
like
ABC of right living.
It's just like Goodism. I rather prefer to call it Goodism, because you're just trying to do things right, live a good life, a spiritual life, be kind, be generous, be thoughtful, considerate, and just live a good life. And I think that is what Buddhism really is about. And I just call it Goodism, because I like that. But faith is what it's all about. Religion comes in different forms, in different shapes, sizes, colours, creeds, and everything else. They all have their variations in what they try to teach people, and some people distort that a lot because it's open to interpretation. But faith is not open to interpretation.
Yeah.
You believe or you don't believe, and that's just it. And you can choose to be good or not. And I think that's the great thing about Buddhism. It teaches you, opens your mind to good things in life and being a better person. And if you believe in something greater than what we are ourselves in this life, how could you not feel better mentally? Because you know that there's something better awaits us. This isn't the end. This is only just the beginning. This is the hardest part of our journey. The next part of our journey, which will be eternal, will be bliss. And that is what faith, in its truest sense, teaches us. Absolutely. And having that sense of purpose can elevate you out of any darkest, deepest hole. It turns darkness into light.
It's funny, because I wanted to, as a kid, name my kids. I wanted 3 boys, 3 girls. I didn't have any children. But I wanted to name one Siddharth, which is the name of Gautam Buddha. His name was Siddhartha. And the other was, in Hinduism, the 5 senses battled 100 desires, and they call it, brothers fighting a story. And the warrior god was Arjun, who fights. And I wanted to name my second son Arjun. So I always had a very strong bond with my religious side, my spiritual side. I correct myself. Yeah. So even as a kid, when I didn't know enough about it, I still resonated with stuff like that a lot. A lot. And yeah.
Yeah, so it's hugely important, for anyone who's like, if you're an atheist or someone who just doesn't believe, it's hard for them to find often light at the end of the tunnel because they don't believe in it.
Or light within yourself,
Yeah,
more
light within
importantly.
yourself, yeah. You know, and a lot of atheists do suffer from mental health problems because they don't have that path, that guidance. That's something, the inner self, to hold on to, that light within, to believe there's something greater. That in itself is a very, very powerful. It's a very, very powerful event to happen within. You know, you can enlighten you in a certain way.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic. But so I'm really glad you've taken to do that. I think it's a great thing.
I think when I was growing up, we were taught that to conquer to find the soul within yourself, or the Atman, soul, the light.
Mm-hmm.
You have 3 components. You have to address your body, the 5 senses, your mind, and your intellect, your reasoning. And if you can take control of the body, the mind, and the intellect, you're in control of the hope of finding the soul within you.
Well, wellness is it's a holistic approach.
Yep.
It's a 360-degree approach.
Yep.
It is, and I think science is more and more coming around to that way of thinking now. That's why you got conventional therapists now, or functional. They're thinking that way, whereas your older generation of psychiatrists, psychologists would just do one thing. They treat you in one particular way. If you were depressed, they'd give you one particular medication. If that didn't work, they give you another medication. Now it's become a lot more holistic approach. Not say everyone's like that, but it's coming around that way. In the way you treat the body, the mind, and the soul. If you give everybody all those assets, which we have freely available to us, treat the mind, treat the body, and give that spiritual path, that direction in life. That is it's like you're putting all the pieces, the missing pieces back in the jigsaw. You're completing somebody. And that is the most powerful thing you can do for somebody.
It's like, when you think about, when I was young, I used to think, how come when old people, when they get old, all they think about is religion and praying and this and that. And, when you get old, you're just scared of dying, so you do these things. And I realize, no, you can be clever when you're young, but you get wise when you're old.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh, wow, that was pretty good. Huh? Yeah, so just so you guys know, I'm pretty wise because I come up with all this stuff. So, hang in there. And, but I think it's getting aware of wisdom and not intellect. It's going beyond the intellect to wisdom. Oh, my God, I'm getting good at this. On that note, I'm going to move on from there and onto your reading. And today's reading is...
so what I've got...
Chapter 1, verse 3.
Schmeichel, was it? All right. So my headline hot topic today is scientists discover way to predict who is most at risk of depression. Right, should I put my glasses on because I might see it better?
Oh, Jesus, they're on his knee.
Yeah, well, I've got they're my knee eyes. Right, here we go. Right, British scientists have developed a predictive algorithm capable of assessing an individual's 10-year risk of developing depression or anxiety, utilising data from over 400,000 participants in the UK Biobank study.
Wow.
The algorithm analyses more than 500 variables, including lifestyle factors, physical health, metrics, and socio-demographic information. The model achieved a concordance index of 0.813 for depression and 0.778 for anxiety, indicating high predictive accuracy. Notably, the selected predictors are easily obtainable via smartphones, suggesting potential for integration into digital health solutions. This advancement could enable early identification and personalised interventions, ultimately reducing the burden of mental health disorders. That's really cool, isn't it?
That is very good.
Well, this is what what we've spoken about before. This precision therapy. Precision therapy is just around the corner. I know that because
what was the third thing you mentioned, which you said in the beginning? You mentioned 4 things. And
on this article?
Yeah. I didn't quite get what it was.
Sure, let me see.
The 4th one was...
algorithm of variables include lifestyle factors, physical health, metrics, and social...
what's metrics?
Well, metrics is the outcomes, isn't it? It's the percentages. That's how they analyse the data.
Okay.
The data.
I did not know that. Sorry, guys. I apologize for my ignorance.
Yeah, it's just the data, the numerical factors about how things are perceived according to the results.
That's interesting. That's really
This is what I'm saying about precision. This is all about precision therapy. This is
if they could predict it on children before they have to hit the shit,
they will do.
you know?
They will do. They'll eventually be able to look at our cells, our genomes and our DNA, and they'll be able to say, well, this person is a very high risk for this down the line, because we know from previous research that people with this particular chromosome or DNA is a high risk factor for X, Y, Z. Yeah. And the outcome. So eventually they'll actually be able to fine tune these, or even eliminate them, take them out, fine tune them, so they won't even have it at all. I mean, they've already found a switch in the brain that switches off anxiety.
Wow.
They found that now already. They can switch that off. They found it in mice, actually, and this needs to be translated to human research, because you know mice are very closely related to humans,
like pigs in physics.
So once they do that, I mean, you won't have anxiety, because they'll just turn it off.
While I'm saying that, my hands are going like this, and I realized that I just got a message from someone talking about prioritizing what I need to go forward with in a therapist, and not carrying anyone else, and feeling that I'm obliged to do something with someone, or obliged to. And as I read it, my hands started, twitching and things. This is anxiety all the time with me. And I've hit a really bad patch of anxiety at the moment. So it's interesting what you have to say. I wish, people like me had been understood a little bit earlier.
But I think you've got the power within you now to deal with that. I mean, to turn that around. I mean, instead of other people, you know what you need to do. You don't need to be told by anybody that you need to draw boundaries, or that what you need to look for in a therapist going forward. You've already been through the mill with so many therapists. You know what works for you and what doesn't work for you. You know how a therapist should interact with you, how the person should communicate with you, what they should say to you, what they shouldn't do. And if the interaction, the tone of the language isn't right between a therapist and a client, then the relationship is broken.
Yeah.
And I'm obviously referring to some things that we've discussed earlier, which I'm not going to go into because it's personal. But I know in this particular relationship you've had with this therapist, this relationship is obviously it's dead and buried. It's done and dusted because of things that were said that should never be said by a therapist to a client.
And you heard it on.
Well, yeah, I know.
Yourself.
Yeah. So it was
really bad.
I mean, realistically speaking, you could easily report that therapist. You could even be struck off of some of the things, the manner of the language that was said. So that is how wrong it was. So don't beat yourself up over it. I mean, don't feel bad about it.
It's really caused a lot of havoc in my brain. But I wanted to read something I got from my Buddhist book, which is strange. But
you got this from the temple, right?
Yeah. So it says, life is not easy for those who have a sense of shame, who are modest, pure-minded and detached, morally upright and reflective. So it's not easy, but that's what you have to aim to be. So it's not wrong. It's part of who you are. Mm-hmm. Basically, I thought that was...
That's very
nice.
Because
I live in a sense of shame a lot. So to try and get detached, be more modest about who I am, and not, when we get stuck up our own butts about what we do, it's just not right. Pure-minded and detached, and that's something I've been taught for years, and I never understood the difference between detachment and loving with detachment and loving with attachment, and that's, I think, pretty evident with the way I am with people.
And you understand that you don't love the person any lesser anymore because of that.
Yeah, that's something I've been studying for years, and 33 years I've neglected it.
Detached love actually allows you to continue loving somebody during times of high stress or high pressure, or in a situation where you could feel like you're sinking. Just that detaching yourself from that situation allows you to be strong enough to continue helping and
you're
loving
doing
that
the
person.
right thing for the person, because
and yourself.
And if you have a kid and the kid is allergic to, say, artificial colouring, and keep saying, please mom, I want a strawberry ice cream, I really want one. If you were loving that person with detachment, you would say no. You can have vanilla, but you're not getting strawberry. But when the attachment takes over, you say, okay, she can have her puffer and whatever. If she's allergic, let her just have the damn ice cream once. And that's loving with attachment. It's not bad it's not good for you, it's not good for the person. So.
In therapy, we call that tough love.
Yeah.
Tough love is what we call it because it's love, the same love, which is harder to implement because you want to give in to it.
It's loving with detachment.
But you're being strong enough to say no. And that is tough love. It's the right thing to do. And if more people did that, a lot of people would be much better off for it.
And if you share things, it's so important. Like I've given him that lurgy of mine. You see, I share. It comes genuinely from my lungs to his lungs.
Unfortunately, that's the kind of sharing we don't need.
Yeah. I'd like you to know that nothing is not good enough for
the next time I get something nasty, I'm going to make sure you're going to get it. Make sure.
We really love each other.
I'll lick your plates. Before you eat.
He already does that, by the way.
No, that's after you've eaten.
Yeah. He and the dogs.
Yeah, me and the dogs.
They climb into the dishwasher.
No, it's on the bed. There's a big punch up. Big punch up between me and the mutts. So, okay. So,
for lining his guts.
For aligning. Someone needs to align my guts.
He punches the mutts so he can be aligning
the
his
muttly. It's usually a punch up between me and the raffla. The raffula. Okay. So, our that's way out of tune.
Okay, let's start again. Oh my God, that was
very good. Yeah, very good. That was very ufology type nonsense. Hey, what was that? That you? Anyway, never mind. Okay,
I think it's a spaceship.
Spaceship. But no, they're silent. But okay, so scientists discovered the strongest evidence yet for aliens. Before I read that, just go back to what we were talking about. I saw a very interesting documentary last night about NASA and when they were initiating their search for life on Mars. You know, the rover's up there now and this, that, and they've done that now. They've placed it up there and we're getting all this data coming back, feedback, wonderful pictures of the red planet, this, that, and the other. But did you know that they hired specifically for that mission 5 priests to be involved in that NASA mission?
Why?
Because and this is a documentary last night and it's all verified, they interviewed the priests involved because they were on the fence whether they're going to find extraterrestrial life or not, because that was the next move. So just in the event that they found extraterrestrial life, they needed priests to be involved so that they could prep the Vatican, the religion, and be able to obviously prep
Catholic
humanity.
Priests.
Yeah, prep humanity for what would be an astonishing revelation.
So this is Saturn, the red planet.
Mars. So they, although it wasn't suggested in the documentary, it says itself, there's a lot of theories to say that NASA has already found evidence of extraterrestrial life, and that's probably why they brought priests in. And they probably don't have enough evidence yet to come out and fully disclose it themselves. But the priests, the Vatican's already been briefed, and they're probably working on obviously how they're going to break the news to people. Yeah. Because it'll have massive implications, political, religious, in every sense. But I think people are ready for it now. Because obviously, you think about it in a religious sense, people will think it'll completely blow open the whole thing with God and us being this one race and stuff like that. People, are going to look in a completely different way, and it might break people's religious views or beliefs, stuff like that. But the thing is, like the priest said himself, he said even religion teaches that there was more in the religious textbooks and drawings. There are artifacts and illustrations of aliens and evidence,
in all the old cultures,
subtle evidence of extraterrestrial beings coming to Earth, and even in some pictures like that you can see it. So it's not unknown to them. It's not unknown, and
even the ancient cultures have it.
Well, I know cultures do, of course.
Etched into
but particularly Catholicism, religion has been very careful to hide these things. They don't want to come out with it because they don't think people will handle it.
Well, Catholicism doesn't come out in any way half the time.
Well, the thing is, they may have to come out soon.
Yeah.
Because they may have no choice. It's either going to happen catastrophically or it's going to happen in a planned way.
I've got 2 sisters who are Catholic, and 2 of us are Hindus, so it's quite interesting.
Like I say, religion to me, religion either way means nothing.
Doesn't mean anything to me either.
Absolutely nothing to me.
I think they
one
just
way or
preach
another.
the same thing in different ways. You just have to find out what they're trying to get at. Without taking everything literally, you have to look beyond what they're saying.
Yeah. The religion means nothing to me at all. It's fate.
Because you gotta have
Fate.
gotta have
All right.
faith.
All right. Yeah.
Sorry.
Let's take you away from your manic episodes now. All right. Scientists uncover.
Oh, here
what
we
did they
go. The
uncover?
glasses. They
What
uncovered
glasses?
your glasses.
No, I did it myself.
Oh, you didn't.
Yeah,
There
exactly.
we go again.
Okay, so scientists uncover strongest evidence yet for aliens. Breakthrough study confirms asteroid Bennu contains the building blocks of life. Did you know the asteroid Bennu? Did you know him? Okay, never mind. Experts have unearthed the strongest evidence yet for aliens on other planets after pieces of an asteroid were found to contain the building blocks of life. What are they? Lego?
Yep.
In 2020, a NASA spacecraft collected a sample from an asteroid called Bennu as part of a nail-biting mission that took place more than 200 million miles away. Wow! 200 million miles away.
Wow.
Once it had returned to Earth, samples of the dust were sent to laboratories where they duly sniffed them up. No, sorry, where did that come from? No, where they
that came from your
from laboratories
second person.
around the world, including the UK, to be studied by scientists. Now, analysis has revealed that traces of ancient brine within the sample contain minerals crucial to life and which kicked off the chemical process that led to a lush and fertile earth. And experts say this is the strongest evidence yet that the building blocks for life as we know it are spread across the solar system and have been there for billions of years. The discovery has been published across 2 papers, one which indicates Bennu was part of a long lost wet salty world sounds like some porn thing, which originated at the dawn of the solar system, and another which reveals a suite of organic materials that were detected in the sample. Among them are all 5 nitrogenous bases, molecules required for building DNA and RNA and amino acids, which are the building blocks for proteins. Professor Sarah Russell from the Natural History Museum was one of the scientists studying the dust. Where is she? Where's she gone? Oh, she said, the advert's coming up while I'm reading the paper. She said one of the interesting things we found in there was a whole range of salts. That includes sodium chloride, which is what we put on our chips. Imagine. And loads of other salts like phosphates and carbonates. We think these actually formed a briny, salty water that may have been underground in the asteroid. This sort of salty fluid would be a perfect place to make organic molecules. And in the early solar system, there would have been millions of asteroids like Bennu, so it could have been really important for seeding the Earth and other planets with all these ingredients they can use for life. She said, although there isn't any evidence for life elsewhere in the solar system yet, now we know there were all of these ingredients around. They made a mistake there. I imagine that whatever rained down on Earth would have also rained down on Mars and on the moons of the giant planets, and they might have been really great environments for life to begin, she added.
Oh, there you go.
I think it's really likely that the fact we found these things in abundance means that life may have begun elsewhere. This is really strong evidence that these building blocks for life were widespread throughout our solar system. The 2 new studies, which appear in the journals of Nature and Nature Astronomy, are among the first published analysis of the Bennu samples. Some of these crucial building blocks have not been detected in meteorites that have fallen to Earth, most likely because their composition would have been altered after burning through the atmosphere, and they would have been easily contaminated after hitting the ground. Bennu consists of pieces of a larger asteroid that formed nearly, listen to this, 4.6 billion years ago, around the same time as the solar system. By understanding the composition of the Bennu samples, scientists can gain insights into conditions of that time, helping answer questions about how the solar system and Earth formed. It's interesting that although Bennu had everything needed for life, it did not form Professor Russell added. The complex and delicate conditions needed to catalyse life really bring into focus the abundance of biodiversity here on Earth. Co-lead author Tim McCoy, curator of meteorites at the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, said, "This extraordinary work done at the scale of microns will help us understand what happens at the scale of planets." Isn't that
There
interesting?
you go.
Yeah. Isn't it just... it's hard to comprehend 4.6 billion years. We can't. We know how long 50 years of our life takes. Yeah? You're talking about hundreds of billions of years or whatever.
It's crazy, no?
It's mad. And the other thing, the hardest thing to get your head around is
Distance.
the distance. Two things I think for me: distance and Big Bang theory. That the Big Bang happened from nothing. Yeah. Now scientists are saying that the Big Bang is after the universe already existed. Science is all the time changing because we are learning more and more about what's actually happening. Eventually, science is going to come to the direct conclusion that science itself cannot explain many things in our solar system and here in life on Earth. Don't you agree, Indiraa?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Yeah?
So does that mean
Because
you
you've
do
gotta
or
have-
don't believe in the Big Bang Theory?
I don't believe in the Big Bang Theory in the way that we've been taught that everything was created from that. I don't believe that at all.
No, I don't believe in...
It's just my own belief. I just don't believe
No,
in
I
that necessarily.
just believe there's... I tend to go by science, so...
Well, science has to find proof.
Yeah.
It's not anecdotal. They won't take anything anecdotal.
But
So
there is
obviously-
something beyond science that can't be
Well, of course, and
explained
this is
as
what they're
well.
finding out, and this
Yeah.
is what this is why science now is very. It's exciting about it because it's bridging that gap between faith,
Faith and
spirituality,
science, yeah.
and science.
Spirituality and
Because
science.
the things that can't be
Most
explained,
scientists don't want to be spiritual,
because
but
the
they have
things
to
that
realize
can't
it.
be explained by science can only be explained
Yeah.
by spirituality and faith.
Yeah.
And that is a fact. And on that note, we only have one life. It's our life, Indiraa, yeah?
One
And we have to
love.
live it. So we're going to play out with a song that really emphasises that. For myself and the wonderful Indiraa, until next time.
It's bad.
The broken
Hearted.
See you next time.
Bye, guys.
A silent prayer for faith departed. I ain't gonna be just a face in the crowd. You're gonna hear my voice when I shout it out loud. It's my life, it's now or never. I ain't gonna live forever. I just wanna live when I'm alive. It's my life. My heart is like an open highway. Like Franklin said, I did it my way. I just wanna live when I'm alive. It's my life. This is for ones who stood their ground. For Tommy and Gina, who never back down. Tomorrow's getting harder, make no mistake. Looking, even look, you gotta make your own breaks. It's my life, and it's now or never. I ain't gonna live forever.
Well, folks, on that note, that's where we're going to leave it for today. Hope you've enjoyed the show as much as we have, and we look forward to bringing you more of the latest news and hot topics surrounding mental health on our next show. Remember, new episodes of the Mad Podcast drop every Sunday at 6 p.m. Episodes are available to listen to on Spotify, Apple Music, and of course, the Musicians Against Depression website, an online toolbox that contains a wealth of information, essential reading, and links relating to mental health. As always, if you or someone you know would like to join the conversation, either in studio or remotely, email us at musiciansagainstdepression@gmail.com or visit the MAD website at www.musiciansagainstdepression.uk for further info. All links, including social media, are provided in the show notes. And remember, no problem in life is insurmountable, and help is just a conversation away. Until the next time, from myself and the wonderful Indiraa,
Take care.